The most innate beauty treasure of life itself lies in the depths within, with the abundance overflow of love. Dearest Mercury, thank you for your divine abundance of great communication. Yes, my dear friends, the planet Mercury has said to be coined the great communicators in our astrological world. But in order to first understand the significance of Mercury in our everyday lives, let's tap into some scientific notions and discoveries about the planet Mercury. Now, Mercury has been founded to be the very first planet orbiting our galaxy sun, and is said to be composed mostly of atomic oxygen, hydrogen, helium, sodium, magnesium, and potassium. Now, as I've pretty much discussed before, these other planets have been noted to have no sort of life because, as we've seen, just describing these atomic gaseous features, we can see that how could life possibly exist on these planets. But what we now have to be aware of, it's just like Earth. We have to see that we are all connected with life itself in our greater cosmos. And like all the other planets, Mercury in fact does exist with other life forms outside of it. It may just be a different version of it. Now, in order to fully understand our cosmos, and as I've went through, displaying the scientific and historical notions of many of these planets in fully understanding the greater universe, we now have to go forth into the scientific written and spiritual texts of astrology and to fully understand and merge both of these sort of higher ascended spiritual world to fully connect it to what exists in the material. Now, as I've said, the planet Mercury is said to be the planet of communication, written in our ancient mythical astrological texts. But why so? So, if we look at this very mythological astrology, that simply just has been written way, way back beyond the ages of time, in Roman times and Babylonian times. Pretty much to shed light and bring forth a version of a destiny path for certain kings and during that time. And so we've seen that this astrology has taken forth and carried on into our present day world. And as we see, we all have a birth chart. It sort of provides the life path of our present day world and even our past life paths in previous lifetimes. Now let's see the very significance of our dear Mercury in this mythological written text of astrology. Now, Mercury is said to be the son of Zeus during these Roman times when it was written. And Mercury is said to be not just the planet of communication, but the messenger of the gods. Why do you think so? So now, we now have to see that we're now entering a new creation age of a golden age. And this is so pivotal in understanding everything. We see that, we have to look forth and to see in our very universe, which is ever expanding, this multi-universe. But let's just focus on our Milky Way galaxy and the 9 planetary discovered planets in Mercury being the first. Now, why do you think so? Mercury has been called the messenger of the gods. We have to now look or sun, which provides us with the creative light force that exists in our current world, and we use it as a dynamic energy source in our everyday world. Now, Mercury is a messenger and communicator. Mercury first, has to pretty much just release all the information gathered from our dear sun. So we can now connect it to our astrological text and see why it was written as the messenger of the gods. Now let's tap a little bit deeper into our everyday modern astrology to understand this in human plane form. Mercury has been given rulership over the signs Gemini, which in our astrological charts and birth charts is the third house, and Virgo, which is the sixth house in our astrological chart. Now let's see the significance as we relate it to our day-to-day lives. Gemini, the twins, often related, by many astrologies as the light and dark twin, which we will now fully delve deeper into. And Virgo, the sixth sign, which just represents the practicality of our everyday lives. Now, if we look a little bit deeper into these signs, we see that they do, in fact, show an essence of, being great communicators in our everyday world. Gemini is pretty much just representing communication. If we look at certain features of what Gemini represents, we see that the way that we pretty much communicate, cell phones or televisions or computers, or day-to-day interactions or media, just publishing and, journalism. Gemini also has significance in just our day-to-day marketing and transportation world, our everyday systems. Now, Virgo attributed, more in a practical sense, of just being this house that's attributed to analyzing the critical, practical aspects of our day-to-day lives, but also has this essence of, using or hermetic principles on the earth to pretty much create healing to continue to sustain our earth. So when we look at the broader picture of it all, and astrology and all these written texts, we see why these two signs and their attributes can correlate to the great messenger and communicators of this universe. Now, as I noted before, Gemini, having, rulership with the planet Mercury, has been said to be the twin. Now, I'm going to break this down a little bit for you. The essence of Gemini is simply to show you individualistically that you have an essence of a divine masculine and a divine feminine that exists within you. Now, during the ages of time, as we could see within our whole gender separation of man and woman, this feature has been pretty much, taken apart and separated. And now as we're in this pivotal year of transformation, we see now that in order to co-create our new earth, we now have to merge these two together in order to have this co-created feature and life force in our everyday world. Now, we see that we're in a year 6 of 2022. Virgo being the sixth sign. We're in a time where, because many are going through their death and rebirth, we need an essence of connecting deeply with the nature and healing of the earth with the hermetic principles and truly transforming and bringing back harmony into our earth. So we see that these two signs who are ruled by Mercury or dear messenger and communicator of the world, is initiating us into a path of pretty much merging with the divine oneness within each of us, of our masculine and feminine nature, to bring back and co-create the divine oneness of harmony in our everyday world as we enter this golden age world. Now, as I said before, the sign of Gemini has been attributed to be lightness and darkness. Now, for many people, people can relate light and dark as good and bad. But what I want to shed light on is, it's not so much about the good and bad, It's more about stating that in order to co-create this new earth, are we going to use this divine feminine and masculine nature within us that has sort of been in a state of separation to bring back harmony? And when we talk about light and dark, it's not so much to say that you're a good or bad person. It's more to say that darkness could be symbolic in nature. We're not talking about the natural aspects of darkness, nighttime and all of these things. We're more or less talking about, now you have a chance to truly transform and say, are you gonna tap into both sides of yourself, not seeing the masculine or feminine as unequal in nature? Now, quote unquote, if we look at the light essence, not just this person that's pretty much carried on as, okay, I'm just gonna be harmonious within myself, and for some people will see it as more of just a submissive nature, being blissful, maybe just being spiritual. It's not just so much about that. It's more about how are you going to use this co-creative life force within you to truly merge within the oneness of yourself, show a characteristic that your true purpose is to contribute in building a harmonious earth, not necessarily being coy or shy, as I've related, the sign of Gemini, representing the representation of the twins, simply just being a feature of the divine masculinity and femininity within us all. Now, if we all tie this all together, the planet Mercury and its significance of being a messenger of the gods and the great communicators, we are now entered a stage where we are co-creating a new golden earth. And astrology in our ancient time was pretty much written to determine our destiny. So now we have to see to it that we fully understand how and why it was written and the symbolic nature within it, and connect it scientifically to the true nature of our universe. And Mercury being the first in line from our dear sun, the co-creative feature in our galaxy, bringing forth down the light force. See to it that Mercury has sort of been a pivotal feature in our everyday lives as written in our astrological birth chart. Not just to show us how to communicate with each other in this life, but to see its significance of a spiritual nature in connecting us deeper with co-creating our new world. And now that you have a broader and clearer understanding of the ancient astrological mysteries of our dear cosmos, see to it that you can now use these texts as a tool to say, wow, in my birth chart, in my lifetime, in this life, how am I gonna use this feature? I'm sure each and every one of you look at your birth chart, you will in fact see each of the planets in our Milky Way galaxy as being significant in your birth chart. So as it relates to Mercury, how can you become the great communicators and co-creators of your life in receiving the divine codes and messages from the God, or co-creative life force of the sun? fully co